3 knocks. That is all it takes to flip Acts chapter 12 upside down. Knock 1, chains hitting stone when an angel wakes Peter in prison. Knock 2, Peter pounding on the door while the church prays for him and forgets to let him in. Knock 3, the knock of judgment when King Herod takes credit for God's glory and kills over. But how did we get here? Let's rewind. Jerusalem is packed for festival week. Torches, crowds, singing, and in the middle of it all, King Herod launches a scheme. He's already executed James, and the crowd cheered. Now he wants more, so he goes after James' old fishing partner, Peter. And Herod doesn't hold back. 4 squads of soldiers, 2 chains, iron gates. He tries to miracle-proof the cell. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. Because across town, the church gathers in a house. No swords, no shields, only prayer. Luke drops a bombshell. But the church was earnestly praying. That word earnestly, it's the same word used when Jesus is praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's not the now I'll lay me down to sleep type prayer. It's that ugly prayer, that desperate prayer. They've already buried James. They pray like there's no plan B. Meanwhile, in this cold, dark, damp cell, we have Peter sleeping. On the night before his trial, the man is chained between 2 guards and he's snoring. Think about that. That's what it looks like when you have handed your tomorrow to God. Then it happens. Light floods the cell, not from a torch, but from an angel. And whack! Hits Peter on the side and says, Peter, wake up quickly. Put your robe on, put your sandals on. We're busting out of this joint. Chains hit the floor. Peter puts on his sandals. He puts on his robe, and he follows the angel. They walk past the first guards. Nobody moves. They walk past the second post. Still nothing. Then they get to this big iron gate that leads to the street, and it creaks open all by itself. A first-century automatic door. Peter steps into the night. He turns a corner. The angel is gone. The street's quiet, and it hits him. This isn't a dream. God has just broke him out of prison. Peter finally makes it to John Mark's house. Yes, that Mark of the Gospel of Mark. And he's pounding on the gate. A servant girl named Rhoda comes to listen. She hears his voice. She knows it's Peter. She's so excited, she forgets to let him in. She bolts back shouting, Peter is at the gate. And the prayer group, they're not buying it. You're out of your mind, one of them says. Another voice, no, it's got to be his angel. Meanwhile, Peter's outside still knocking, saying, guys, seriously? And look, can you really blame them? They had just buried James. You know they prayed for him. So yeah, they prayed. But this may not have been polished hope. Maybe it was that stubborn, defiant faith. The kind that keeps knocking even when the last door slams shut. Finally, they open the door and there he is. Peter, alive. And chaos breaks out. He waves his hand. Shh, keep it down, guys. I'm on the most wanted list here. He tells them about the angel, the chains, the automatic door. And he says, tell James and the others. And then he disappears into the night. The fishermen turn fugitive. Morning breaks at the fortress and panic explodes. Chains are on the ground. The cell is empty. Peter is gone. For the guards, this isn't just a prison break. This is a death sentence. Herod is demanding answers. The gates were locked? Yes, my lord. The chains intact? Yes, my lord. Herod leans in. So what then? He just turned to smoke? You give me a fairy tale, I'll give you a grave. And he does. All 16 guards were executed. But here's the thing. This story isn't about Peter versus Herod. It's light versus darkness. Herod wasn't trying to shut down the church. He was just thirsty for praise. And yeah, he got it for a moment, but he was never the real player. He was just a pawn. The true enemy, it was the forces of darkness. And when Herod failed, Satan did to him exactly what he did to his guards. Used them, then discarded him. But it wasn't Satan who wrote Herod's ending. Make no mistake, God did it. Even the historian Josephus records this. Herod shows up at these games honoring Caesar. He is dressed in a robe, a silver robe that is shimmering in the sun. He speaks and the crowd shouts back, "This is the voice of a God, not a man." And let me tell you, he soaks it in. Then comes the pain, the sharp, sudden pain in his stomach. 5 days later, he's dead. Before he died, even Herod admitted this was judgment for stealing God's glory. But the story doesn't end there. Luke gives us one quiet line that says everything. The word of God increased and multiplied. That's the twist. Herod wanted applause. The enemy wanted silence. Instead, the church grew louder, wider, stronger. Every time someone tried to gauge the gospel, it only spread further. And that's the call for us. Just because God doesn't move like you asked him to last time, don't stop praying. The same church that prayed for James prayed for Peter. One died, one lived, but in both, God was working a bigger plan. It's easy to look at the church in Acts chapter 12 and say, well, they didn't have faith. But real faith isn't about always getting the answer you expect. Real faith is when you keep praying anyway. That's the kind of faith that not only moves mountains, but it breaks chains and it opens doors. If you want to keep following this story, we're going through the book of Acts right now. I have an Acts playlist right here. Just click on it, find one that tickles your fancy, watch it. Hit that notification bell because next week we're going to get into Acts chapter 13 and 14, Paul's first missionary journey, where a surprising departure sets the stage for a painful breakup. Remember, chains fell like thunder, doors opened like dawn, a king crumbled like dust, and the gospel surged like fire. Until next time, God bless you.